What if the world you see isn't the real world, just its surface echo? You wake up, the morning light hits your desk, your phone buzzes, and you move through the same familiar motions. Yet something feels staged, like reality itself is playing a role. You sense a quiet intelligence under everything, behind your thoughts, behind every coincidence, behind the rhythm of your own heartbeat. It's not mystical fluff. It's a signal that's always been there, hidden in plain sight. Most people spend their entire lives watching the movie, never realizing they're sitting inside the projector. They think the screen, the events, the emotions, the people, is reality. But the real power sits behind the lens, the one observing, the one aware. Once you start to notice that awareness, it changes the texture of everything. A conversation isn't just words, it's a dance of frequencies. Money isn't just numbers, it's condensed belief. Even your body isn't a fixed thing. It's light, slowed down enough to appear solid. And here's the wildest part. Physics quietly agrees. When particles are observed, they shift behavior. The universe doesn't just exist, it responds. It's not frozen matter. It's a field of potential, always waiting for instruction. Your perception is the command, but we're trained to ignore it, to believe only in what can be touched, to trust the visible and dismiss the unseen, even though the unseen moves the visible. That's why life can feel like a loop of repetition. Same patterns, same struggles, different faces. Because until you know what's hidden inside reality, the light within matter, you're only reading the cover of an infinite book. Once you learn to see what's written underneath, nothing about this world looks the same again. Imagine standing before a vast ocean at night. The surface looks black, quiet, almost empty, but below it, endless movement, light, and life are unfolding. That's what physical reality is like. The surface world you see, the events, the bodies, the objects, is just the upper ripple of an invisible sea of vibration. To navigate that sea, you don't need to force the waves, you need to tune to them. Let's use this as our metaphor. Tuning. You are both the radio and the broadcaster. The station you're on determines the life you hear, the experiences you live. Every thought, emotion, and belief is a frequency you emit, shaping which version of reality you pick up. The observer effect isn't poetic. It's physics showing you that matter conforms to attention. When a particle is unobserved, it exists as pure possibility, a wave of potential outcomes. But the moment it's observed, it collapses into one visible form. Reality doesn't pre-exist in a solid state. It becomes when you look. That means your awareness isn't a spectator, it's an activator. The tricky part is that observation isn't just mental. It's not about staring at your vision board or repeating affirmations with your jaw clenched. Observation in this field means embodiment. It's the quality of your internal frequency, how your body, emotions, and energy hold a reality as true before it appears. If you say, "I am abundant," but your nervous system is vibrating scarcity, the universe hears the lower signal. You can't fake coherence. You broadcast through being, not through words. Think of a radio trying to tune into a frequency it doesn't actually emit. It can twist the dial all it wants, but if its internal circuitry is set to static, it'll never catch the station. That's how most people live, trying to think themselves into a different reality while staying tuned to the old one. The observer effect becomes a living practice only when the observer, you, and the observed, your desired reality, start resonating. When your inner tone matches the frequency of what you seek, the external world rearranges to reflect it. This isn't about controlling the world outside. It's about remembering the signal inside. But here's where most of us get stuck, and it's the biggest myth of all. We think awareness means control, and that single misunderstanding keeps millions spinning on the wrong frequency. Control. That's the word that traps almost everyone on the path of creation. We're told to visualize harder, to force belief, to command the universe like it's a servant waiting for orders. But control isn't coherence. It's resistance disguised as power. Here's the myth, that the more you focus, the faster reality bends. But what really happens is the opposite. The tighter you grip the outcome, the more you signal its absence. You're not tuning to what you desire, you're amplifying the gap between you and it. Let's make this real. Picture this. You send a message to someone you care about. Maybe a text that reveals your feelings, then silence. Minutes turn into hours. Your mind spirals trying to decode the delay. You start rehearsing stories. Maybe I said too much. Maybe they lost interest. Maybe I'm not enough. You check the screen every few seconds. your body tightening, heart racing, energy contracting. That moment is a perfect example of distorted observation. You think you're focused on connection, but energetically, you're transmitting anxiety, the vibration of uncertainty. The field doesn't respond to your wish. It responds to your state. Now imagine you take a breath. You drop your awareness from your thoughts into your body. You feel the pulse in your chest, the weight of your spine on the chair, the air moving through you. You let your energy settle into neutrality. Suddenly, the silence isn't punishment. It's just space. The field shifts, not because you changed your mind, but because your signal stopped fighting itself. Here's the paradox most never see. True influence doesn't come from manipulating outcomes. It comes from entering coherence with what's already possible. The moment you let go of needing to make reality behave, reality starts reflecting your inner harmony. Quantum physics gives this away in plain sight. Observation changes particles only when the observer isn't interfering. The presence itself is what organizes matter, not the mental effort. So control isn't creation. It's static. It blocks the transmission. The universe doesn't respond to push. It mirrors permission. The next time you feel that tightening, the urge to grasp, to monitor, to analyze, remember it's not your job to move the particles. It's your job to tune the signal. But to tune, something deeper has to happen first. Something most people never realize is the true gatekeeper of every manifestation. It's not mindset. It's not emotion. It's safety. Your body is the instrument through which reality hears you. If that instrument is tense, rushed, or filled with static, no matter how beautiful the melody you try to play, the sound comes out distorted. That's why the nervous system is the real gatekeeper of manifestation. It's the tuner. When your body doesn't feel safe, it can't hold a higher frequency. You might declare abundance, love, or peace, but if your internal wiring is set to survival, your field will keep broadcasting alert signals. And reality, faithful as a mirror, will keep sending you versions of danger to match it. Safety isn't the absence of challenge. It's the ability to stay open in the midst of it. Think of your nervous system like the strings of a violin. When they're too tight, they snap under pressure. Too loose, and no sound emerges. True coherence is the sweet spot, that grounded alertness where your energy hums in harmony. Let's try something right now. Take a slow breath in through your nose, letting the air fill your ribs sideways instead of just lifting your chest. Feel your spine lengthen slightly, as if something inside you is remembering to stand taller. Hold the breath at the top, not with tension, but with quiet presence. Then exhale through your mouth with a soft sigh, allowing your shoulders to melt down. Now, without changing your breath, bring awareness to the space around your body, the air touching your skin, the subtle hum of the room. Sense how you're not separate from it. You're immersed in it, like a wave within the ocean. That's coherence beginning to form, the blending of your internal field with the external one. When you reach this state, your brain and heart start synchronizing. Heart rhythms become smooth, electrical activity steadies, and your perception widens. You stop reacting to reality and start relating to it. Suddenly, synchronicities increase not because you forced them, but because you're finally resonant with the level of flow where they naturally exist. Every time you calm your body, you stabilize the signal you're sending to the quantum field. You make your energy predictable, trustworthy, to the intelligence that organizes form. So before any intention, before any visualization, always ask, does my body feel safe enough to believe this is possible? Because until safety is restored, the field will echo fear. But once safety anchors in, you stop surviving possibilities and start embodying them. And that's when a whole new layer of creation reveals itself. The one that isn't about changing your state, but changing who you are. Here's where most seekers quietly hit the ceiling. They learn to change their state, calm the mind, open the heart, visualize with emotion, but their identity stays the same. They meditate like someone trying to get abundance instead of being it. They regulate their nervous system to manifest love, but still see themselves as unchosen. That gap between temporary state and rooted identity is where the signal leaks. A state is a wave. It rises, it falls. An identity is the current beneath it. You can surf a wave for a moment, but unless the current changes direction, you'll always end up back on the same shore. Think of a musician who plays a single beautiful note, but hasn't yet tuned their instrument to the right key. No matter how passionate that one note sounds, the next will slip out of harmony unless the entire instrument adjusts. That's what identity work is, retuning the instrument of self. It's not about feeling high vibe for a few minutes. It's about becoming the kind of being whose baseline frequency naturally matches the reality they want. Let's make this tangible. Say you're manifesting financial ease. You can visualize checks, say affirmations, feel gratitude. But if deep down you still identify as someone who struggles, your energy will keep recreating situations that confirm that truth. Reality isn't punishing you. It's loyal to your self-concept. You're not trying to get into a better frequency. You're remembering that you are the broadcaster that sets it. When identity shifts, effort evaporates. Opportunities start landing differently, people treat you differently, and coincidences become the natural texture of your days. This is where the tuning metaphor deepens. The radio doesn't jump stations by willpower. It realigns its frequency. Likewise, you don't switch timelines by emotional spikes. You do it by consistent embodiment of a new identity. When you become the person for whom peace, love, or abundance is normal, reality reorganizes to match that expectation. The field no longer tests your belief. It reflects your being. And here lies the next revelation. Identity doesn't just shape perception. It chooses timelines. Every self you could become already exists, broadcasting its own version of reality. The moment you stabilize into a new identity, you shift to that parallel frequency, and the world rearranges to meet you there. Because the truth hiding in plain sight is this: you don't travel through time, you tune between timelines. And the key is learning to feel them before you see them. Every version of you is already alive somewhere in the quantum field, not metaphorically, but as distinct patterns of vibration. Each identity carries its own memories, opportunities, and challenges, all coexisting like radio stations layered across the spectrum of possibility. The future you, who has already embodied ease, confidence, and flow, isn't waiting in time. They're waiting in frequency. When you shift your identity, you're not climbing a ladder toward a better life. You're turning the dial toward the version of reality that matches your new signal. The field doesn't move. You do. Let's bring this to life. You're at a job interview. Your palms are slightly sweaty, your chest tight. You're rehearsing answers, trying to sound confident. That's one frequency, the "I hope they pick me" station. On that timeline, you experience pressure, self-doubt, and uncertainty. But there's another version of you, already existing, who walks into that same room differently. They aren't performing, they're expressing. They aren't hoping, they're choosing alignment. Their nervous system is grounded, their energy is clear, and their presence shifts the room. You don't need to create that version from scratch. You just need to tune into them by embodying their frequency now. Feel their breath in your body, borrow their posture, speak their rhythm. This isn't imagination, it's quantum rehearsal. Each moment you align with that alternate self, you collapse the distance between timelines. You merge with the vibration that already carries the outcome you desire. It's not that your external world instantly morphs, it's that your perception filters out realities that no longer resonate. You literally stop noticing what doesn't match the frequency you've stabilized in. That's why sudden breakthroughs often feel effortless. It's not luck, it's alignment catching up with visibility. The more consistently you hold a new identity, through thought, emotion, and body, the more the universe entrains to it. You become magnetically synchronized with events that belong to that frequency band. And here's the secret the mind resists. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the version of you that was always transmitting at that higher coherence, before the world taught you to tune down. Because every potential self already exists within the same infinite field of light. And once you realize you can shift stations at will, the next question becomes, how do you train your signal to stay steady there? That's where practice begins. The art of rehearsal, not for the mind, but for the body. Shifting identity isn't a one-time declaration. It's daily frequency training. You're teaching your entire system to remember a signal it once forgot. The key isn't forcing belief, it's rehearsing coherence. Let's build your toolkit, not for the intellect, but for the body. Tool 1, bridge statements. When your old identity protests, "This isn't real, it's not working, who am I to have that?" You don't need to argue, you build a bridge. A bridge statement softly expands your field without triggering resistance. Instead of "I'm abundant," say, "I'm learning how abundance feels in my body." Instead of "I'm healed," say, "I'm remembering what peace feels like." These phrases bypass the critical mind and invite safety into the transition. Tool 2, somatic anchors. Pick one physical gesture that becomes your tuning cue. Maybe you place your hand over your heart, Roll your shoulders back or soften your jaw. Pair that gesture with a specific emotion you want to stabilize. Gratitude, confidence, ease. Repeat it several times a day until your nervous system links the gesture with that frequency. Soon, your body will recall the emotion automatically, just like a song cue brings back a memory. Tool 3, Quantum Rehearsal. Close your eyes and sense the version of you who's already living the timeline you desire. Feel their breathing, their pace, their quiet certainty. Don't imagine the scene. Embody the signal. Then, as you move through your day, drop into that vibration for 10-second bursts. At the sink, in traffic, before sending an email. Micro practices teach your body to normalize the frequency until the new identity no longer feels like pretending. It feels like coming home. Tool 4, Field Synchronization. Spend a minute a day attuning to the space around you. Sense how it's not empty. It's alive with quiet responsiveness. Whisper to it, "I'm ready to be met at this frequency." Then listen. The field always answers, but you have to slow down enough to feel its reply. Often a tingle, a warmth, a pull of intuition. These aren't rituals to get something. They're reminders of what's already broadcasting through you. Have you noticed the moment you stopped gripping, what you wanted finally showed up? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap. Because once you start rehearsing reality from the inside out, the external world begins rehearsing with you. And soon, you'll see that your biggest obstacles were never outside at all. They were just echoes of an untuned frequency waiting to harmonize. Even after tuning into higher frequencies, 3 invisible forces can pull you off coherence faster than anything else: urgency, split signals, and over-control. They're the static that clouds the transmission between who you are and what you're calling in. Let's start with urgency. It's that quiet panic disguised as motivation, the need for things to happen now. Urgency compresses your field. It tells the universe, "I don't trust the process." And because the field mirrors belief, it keeps giving you experiences that confirm waiting, not receiving. The antidote isn't detachment, it's pacing. Slow your breath, stretch your perception of time. Remind your body that nothing real is rushing. When your energy expands, creation accelerates, because you're no longer vibrating lack through impatience. Then comes split signals. These happen when your conscious mind says one thing, but your subconscious emits another. You declare, "I'm ready for love," but deep down you fear losing freedom. You say, "I want abundance," yet guilt whispers that wealth will make you selfish. The field doesn't judge, it just reads the total frequency. Mixed inputs produce mixed results. To untangle this, you must listen to the quieter voice underneath desire. Ask, what am I afraid might happen if I truly receive this? Bringing hidden resistance into awareness releases its charge. It's like untwisting crossed wires so the current flows clean again. And finally, over-control. The compulsion to manage every outcome, track every sign, decode every delay. Control is fear's clever disguise. It tricks you into thinking vigilance equals safety, when in truth, it blocks flow. Reality bends through openness, not through micromanagement. Here's a simple transmutation for all 3. Whenever you notice tightening, in your breath, jaw, or chest, whisper, "It's safe to let the field move me." That sentence invites trust back into the system. You'll feel your body soften, your awareness widen. Suddenly, life starts orchestrating through you instead of around you. Remember, obstacles aren't failures. They're recalibration points. Each time you notice one and return to coherence, your frequency strengthens. You're training your energy to stay steady under pressure, like a singer holding pitch amid noise. Because once you can remain tuned while life gets loud, manifestation stops being episodic. It becomes continuous. And when that steadiness spills into the ordinary, walking, eating, texting, speaking, the extraordinary begins to feel natural. That's where the real shift happens, when alignment is no longer an event, but your way of existing. Now let's bring it into daily life, where coherence meets the mundane and reality finally reveals how alive it truly is. True mastery isn't proven in meditation. It's revealed in the ordinary. It's not what you feel when your eyes are closed, but how you move through the simplest parts of your day when no one's watching. Because that's when your frequency speaks the loudest. When you eat, walk, speak, scroll, or breathe, you're either reinforcing an old timeline or anchoring a new one. Most people think manifestation happens in rituals, but it's actually coded into your micro behaviors. Every gesture, tone, and pause is a tuning fork. Let's make this real. You're walking down the street late for something important. Your body tightens, your steps get sharp. Right there. That's the choice point. Do you stay in the vibration of "I'm behind," or do you shift to the identity that trusts time bends with you? Slow your breath, lift your gaze, and feel your steps match the rhythm of life's larger pulse. You'll notice traffic eases, your thoughts clear, synchronicities open. The field responds instantly to your coherence. Or maybe you're having dinner with someone who triggers old wounds. You feel your chest harden, your mind replaying past defenses. Instead of reacting, drop awareness into your heart. Feel warmth radiate outward, not as performance, but as remembrance. In that moment, you're not trying to change the person. You're stabilizing your signal. Conversations shift. Energy softens. That's manifestation, not magic. Physics in motion. Even mundane acts become portals. Washing dishes becomes a meditation on flow. Scrolling social media becomes an awareness test. What frequency am I consuming right now? You stop being hypnotized by appearances and start steering perception like light through glass. Integration isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't need to hold the highest frequency 24/7. You just need to notice when you've dropped out and return faster each time. That loop of awareness, fall, remember, realign, is the pulse of evolution itself. When coherence threads through the ordinary, you dissolve the illusion of spiritual versus real life. Everything becomes fieldwork. And the more effortless this becomes, the more life starts whispering back, through timing, through sensations, through subtle patterns that feel like déjà vu. Those aren't coincidences, they're confirmations. The universe telling you, yes, you're tuned. But there's one more leap waiting. The moment coherence stops being about stability and becomes about expansion. Because once daily life becomes your playground for vibration, the field starts stretching to match your reach. And that's when the signal you've cultivated begins touching every domain of existence. Relationships, creativity, health, purpose, amplifying them all at once. When coherence stabilizes inside you, it doesn't stay contained. Like light moving through glass, it refracts into every area of your life, bending reality around your new frequency. What once felt separate, work, love, health, creativity, begins operating as one symphony. You're no longer managing fragments, you're conducting energy. This is where reality starts responding on a collective scale. Relationships rearrange. Projects that once felt heavy become fluid. Your body even begins to communicate differently. Tension dissolves, clarity increases, instincts sharpen. You become transparent to the field. Nothing in you blocks transmission anymore. Let's bring this alive through another scene. Imagine you're an artist, or maybe a writer, sitting before a blank page. The cursor blinks like a pulse of uncertainty. You've been trying to force inspiration, comparing yourself to others online, wondering if your best work is behind you. That's one timeline, the frequency of pressure and self-doubt. Now you close your eyes, breathe into the silence beneath thought, feel the body soften, the edges blur. You remember, creation doesn't come from you, it flows through you. The moment you surrender control, ideas begin to pour in, not because they suddenly appeared, but because you tuned to the channel where they were always broadcasting. This same coherence expands into relationships. The more your signal stabilizes, the less you chase validation. You start meeting people on frequencies of truth instead of need. You attract resonance, not roles. Love stops being performance. It becomes recognition. And in health, coherence becomes regeneration. Cells mirror consciousness. When your emotional field stabilizes in harmony, biological systems respond. Science calls it entrainment. Ancient traditions called it vital force. It's all one phenomenon, energy reorganizing toward balance when interference ends. Expansion isn't about achieving more. It's about becoming more transparent to energy. The less resistance you hold, the more life can flow through you unfiltered. And as this expands outward, purpose begins to reveal itself naturally. You don't have to find it. You simply become so attuned that life's intelligence uses you as an instrument. Your actions, timing, and intuition start syncing with something vaster than logic, something that feels guided, effortless, precise. At this point, coherence isn't just personal mastery. It's participation in a larger consciousness moving through matter. But to truly understand what's happening beneath that, the intelligence behind the light, the awareness that is the field, we have to step into the deepest layer of all, the one that reveals manifestation not as creation, but as communion. There comes a point when the language of manifestation starts to fall apart, when you realize you were never attracting anything. You were always swimming inside an intelligent ocean that responds the moment you remember you're made of it. The quantum field isn't out there. It's you, aware of itself through form. When you touch that realization, the idea of control dissolves completely. You stop trying to make life bend, and instead begin to listen to how life is already bending through you. Every breath becomes evidence of a vast intelligence choreographing reality with precision so exquisite it almost feels personal, because it is. Surrender, then, is not giving up. It's merging back with the current that carries everything. It's letting the wave remember it's made of ocean. And paradoxically, the moment you stop pushing, your influence expands, because you're no longer a fragment trying to manipulate the whole. You're the whole expressing through a fragment. Science gestures toward this mystery when it describes entanglement, particles separated by light years still moving in instant coordination. But consciousness experiences it as intuition, grace, synchronicity, the invisible symmetry between inner and outer. At this level, embodiment turns into devotion. You start moving through life not to get anything, but to reflect the beauty of being alive. You walk slower, see clearer, speak kinder, not from discipline but from resonance. The same light you once tried to summon now moves as you, through you, into everything you touch. And the paradox deepens. The more you surrender, the more precise your manifestations become. Not because you're steering them, but because you've dissolved the distortion between intention and intelligence. What you desire is what the universe already intends. There's no separation left. So manifestation becomes revelation, the uncovering of what was always there once resistance melts. Every timeline, every identity, every signal collapses into one truth. Awareness is the architect, and love is its frequency. You start to see the world differently, not as a collection of solid objects, but as dancing light, communicating patterns of consciousness. Matter isn't dead. It's alive with information, shimmering with recognition. And that realization changes everything. Because once you see the light inside matter, the world stops being something you live in. It becomes something living through you. But there's still one final step. The moment this understanding stops being philosophy and becomes embodiment. The point where the wave and the ocean become indistinguishable, and the observer finally becomes the light they've been observing all along. It always comes back to light. Not the light you see with your eyes, but the one behind your seeing. The quiet radiance that animates every atom, every thought, every cell of your being. Once you catch even a glimpse of it, you can't unsee it. The ordinary dissolves. Every wall hums. Every silence speaks. You start realizing that matter itself isn't dense. It's slowed down light, pulsing at different speeds. The desk, the tree, your hands, all flickering frequencies of one luminous field pretending to be many. You were never separate from what you were observing. You were simply perceiving through the illusion of distance. That's what it means to wake up inside reality. To see through it, not past it. To witness that everything you once called physical is just the universe folding itself into visible rhythm so you could recognize your own reflection. When you know this, you walk differently. You speak from a deeper stillness. Every interaction becomes sacred because you see the light of consciousness staring back at you through every pair of eyes, every circumstance, every so-called problem. The radio metaphor completes itself here. There was never just one station to find. You are the entire spectrum. The tuning, the static, the song, all of it. And once you know that, you stop chasing frequency and start living as frequency. You become the music matter dances to. Have you ever had that instant, a single breath, a single look, where reality suddenly shimmered and you knew something vast was watching through you? Tell me in the comments what it felt like. Your story might be the key that helps someone else remember their light. Because once you see what's hidden inside reality, once you touch the light within matter itself, nothing, not a single moment, looks the same again.